Today we're taking a break from Rimuru's meeting with Gadara's group in Tempest and jumping back into the past to uncover the truth about Testarossa and the infamous Scarlet Lake incident, one of the darkest stains in the history of the Eastern Empire. The story begins in Silberia, a small vassal kingdom with fewer than 10,000 citizens. Known for its peaceful climate and a stunning lake, Silberia seemed unremarkable, except for one thing. Its royal family could see what others could not. No, not X-ray vision. I'm talking about the ability to perceive spiritual entities, specifically demons, beings that normally remain invisible to human eyes. The king of Silberia had a single daughter, Blanche Nam Silberia, later known by another name, Blanche. She was a quiet, sweet child who loved books and had an eerie beauty. Snow-white skin, platinum hair, and deep crimson eyes, a trademark of Silberia's royal bloodline. Sounds like someone we know? That's right, Testarossa. Aside from her looks, Blanche had an overwhelming amount of magicules and could see the world hidden from normal view. Despite her origins and powers, she enjoyed a peaceful childhood under the loving care of her mother, Letitia. To keep her daughter safe from fear and rejection, Letitia told Blanche to hide her powers from everyone else and affectionately called her Blanc. But of course, peace never lasts forever, otherwise there'd be no story. When Blanche turned 10, things changed. Her mother, coming from a low-ranking noble house, was politically vulnerable. Influenced by higher-ranking nobles, the king took a second queen, Amelia, a cunning woman from a powerful Marcotte family. Amelia quickly asserted control over the palace, forcing Letitia and Blanche into isolation and treating them cruelly. Meanwhile, Amelia's own daughter, Ashla, Blanche's half-sister, was pampered and presented as the new favorite. The king had no sons and no siblings, meaning Blanche, by default, was next in line for the throne. But Amelia had no intention of letting that happen. Her goal? Eliminate Blanche and Letitia, ensuring Ashla would inherit the crown. Then came Blanche's 12th birthday, a tragic day. Her mother passed away and her father showed no care. Lost in grief, Blanche wandered into the snow, alone and crying in the palace courtyard. And that's when she heard a voice asking, "Why are you crying?" Blanche looked up and saw a woman so beautiful she didn't seem human. White hair, crimson eyes, the same as Blanche. She immediately knew this being was something beyond humanity, but in her despair, she didn't care. The woman listened kindly to her sorrow, then said something Blanche would never forget. "I need you." This mysterious figure promised to grant Blanche a wish, but in exchange, she asked for something, her body. Being a purely spiritual being, the woman needed a physical vessel to manifest in the real world. Her true identity? One of the most dangerous demons in existence, the white primordial, Blanc. The resemblance wasn't coincidence. Long ago, Silberia had entered a pact with Blanc. In exchange for guarding their land, she would one day be granted a physical body when the perfect vessel was born. Over generations, the royal bloodline carried Blanc's blessings, culminating in Blanche, silver hair, red eyes, and massive magicule potential. That day, her 12th birthday, was the day the pact would be fulfilled. Blanc could have tricked Blanche into an unfair deal like most demons would. But she didn't. Her pride wouldn't allow it. She honored the ancient agreement and waited for Blanche to speak her wish. And what was it? "Will you be my friend?" That's right. Instead of power, revenge, or escape, Blanche just wanted a friend. Blanc, who had lived for millennia, was speechless. No one had ever made a request like that. But something in Blanche's simple, sincere wish moved her. So, with a soft smile, Blanc agreed. "Very well. From now on, you and I shall be friends." From that day on, the white primordial resided within Blanche, and the fate of the entire kingdom silently shifted. Forever. 3 years passed since that fateful day, and under the guidance of a primordial, Blanche, now often referred to as Plains, blossomed into a true prodigy. She mastered fields ranging from mathematics and history to social science and art, and became renowned for her deep understanding of magical theory. With her growing reputation and aptitude, her position as the next queen of Silberia became almost certain. During this time, she caught the attention of Gwinius Nam Grunse, the second son of a powerful duke whose domain boasted a population of over 300,000. Their relationship appeared strong and was widely supported by the nobility. Gwinius even expressed his intent to marry her should she ascend to the throne. But behind this charm and noble courtship was a far darker plot. Meanwhile, Empress Amelia, Blanche's stepmother, had not given up her ambition. She made several attempts to eliminate Blanche through assassination, but all failed. Thanks to the presence of the white primordial, Blanc, hidden within Blanche, no harm could reach her. Though Blanc, also known as Testarossa in the present timeline, was not pleased with Blanche's relationship with Guineas, she decided not to interfere, so long as it made Blanche happy. However, to ensure her friend's safety, Blanc secretly dispatched her subordinates to investigate the man. What they uncovered was chilling. Guineas had known from the start about the demons living in Silberia. There were strong indications he was aware of the ancient pact between the royal family and the White Primordial. In other words, he had been deliberately targeting Blanche from the beginning. Blanc was deeply attached to Blanche. Knowing that this was no mere political marriage, but a calculated move to manipulate and potentially harm her, she grew deeply concerned. Guineas' true plan was this: use Blanche to ascend the throne of Silberia, then take her back to the Empire. With the help of Marquis Barnes, Amelia's father, he arranged for Blanche to be pushed out of the country. In exchange, Barnes would secure the throne for his granddaughter Ashla. But Guineas never intended to marry Blanche in good faith. His plan was to treat her as a temporary plaything, dispose of her once she had served her purpose, and wipe out the cursed royal bloodline altogether. As Blanche's 16th birthday approached, so did the turning point of her life, and of Silberia's history. Despite Testarossa's warnings, Blanche continued to believe in Guineas. She trusted him, loved him, but it was all a trap. On the day of the celebration, Guineas and several nobles launched their plan. They pressured Blanche to leave Silberia and marry into the Empire. Neither Blanche nor the king agreed, but the pressure was overwhelming. The kingdom had been quietly surrounded by imperial forces. If they refused, war was inevitable. Worse still, this decision violated the ancient pact with the White Primordial, Blanc. The king knew the consequences, but after centuries of peace, most of the nobles had forgotten the significance of that contract. They sided with Guineas. Those who opposed the marriage were left helpless. A secret emergency meeting was held in the palace. The king and his remaining supporters were not afraid of the Empire's army. What truly terrified them was Blanc's wrath. If Blanche left the kingdom, the pact would be broken, and the punishment would be beyond human comprehension. Meanwhile, Blanche began to understand the consequences of her choices. Regret overwhelmed her. She blamed herself for not listening to Testarossa. But to comfort her, Testarossa took the blame instead, saying she was the one who had failed, because her own power had not fully awakened yet. But Blanche still wouldn't forgive herself. She believed that by making Blanc her friend all those years ago, she had weakened her. Then, in a moment that felt like a farewell, Blanche thanked Blanc for everything. Her words carried the finality of someone ready to disappear. It was the first time Blanc felt genuine fear of losing the one person who mattered most to her. She had once seen Blanche as nothing more than a vessel, but over the years she had grown to love her deeply, more than anything else. Still, despite her desperate protests, Blanche stood firm, and so she fulfilled the pact. Blanche handed her body over to Blanc and passed away from the world, leaving only her soul behind. Her shining, colorful soul fell into Blanc's hand. Blanc, White Primordial, Queen of Demons, a being feared across the ages, could only cry in silence. For the first time, the embodiment of power was left helpless, holding the soul of the girl she loved like a sister, her only true friend. There were no witnesses, no glory, no victory, only grief. After Blanche gave up her body to Blanc, those who remained in the palace slowly realized something was wrong. The girl before them was no longer the princess. They were now standing in the presence of the White Primordial, the ancient demon who once forged a pact with their kingdom. Now with a physical vessel, her full power had returned. Overcome by grief and fury, Blanc blamed the king and nobles for Blanche's demise. Yet because they had honored their end of the ancient pact, she granted them one final mercy, a painless death. One by one, those who stayed loyal collapsed without struggle, as if gently put to sleep. But for the traitors, those who turned their backs on the royal family and their pact, the punishment was far more horrifying. A forbidden curse was unleashed. Their bodies bled from within, torn apart by agony until not even their souls remained. This curse blanketed all of Silberia. No living being could escape. Infants, elders, innocents, no one was spared. And still, Blanc's rage was not satisfied. She ordered her subordinates to drag the traitors to her throne: Marquis Barnes, Empress Amelia, Princess Ashla, and Guineas. Each was brought before her in turn. Barnes shouted in denial, only to fall silent when he met Blanc's crimson gaze. Amelia and Ashla screamed as their skin blistered and burned, retribution for the years they tormented Blanche. By the time they realized who stood before them, it was already too late. Finally came Gwinius, the mastermind. As he was flown through the sky, Gwinius looked down and saw hell. The capital ran red with blood. Screaming faces twisted in pain, the once peaceful lake was now scarlet. He couldn't deny it. This was the result of his own ambition. Dragged before Blanc, Gwinius, once a noble of wealth and pride, was now a broken shell. Begging for his life, sobbing, he was mocked. "You're lucky," Blanc said with a cruel smile. "You won't suffer alone." Before him lay the disfigured, mutilated bodies of his allies, naked, ruined, humiliated. His punishment? Eternal suffering, a curse even death could not end. After the massacre, the Imperial army marched into the ruins of Silberia. What greeted them was a vision of hell. Blood-drenched streets, crumbling cities, and a silence that screamed louder than death. A fierce battle broke out between the Empire's elite and the demons. Countless lives were lost. At her peak, Blanc, the white primordial, could have wiped them all out effortlessly, but she chose not to. Out of respect for Blanche's body, she held back, sparing the remaining soldiers. They, of course, misunderstood this mercy. Believing they had defeated a primordial, they celebrated a victory that was never theirs to begin with. After the confrontation, Blanc quietly left Blanche's body. With great care, she sealed it beneath Silberia, ensuring no one could ever disturb her again. A resting place of immortal beauty, unreachable by time or man. Blanc gathered the souls of those who had stayed loyal, releasing them to journey alongside Blanche. In doing so, she hoped they would remain together forever, even in the afterlife. And with her final act of kindness complete, Blanc vanished, along with the demons. The tragedy had ended, but the scars remained. Silberia fell that day. Its ancient towns turned to ash. The pristine lake now ran red, a crimson sea of blood. At night, the land echoed with eerie laughter as if the demon's wrath still lingered. From then on, it was known as the Scarlet Lakeshore incident, one of the darkest stains in the Empire's history. Very few knew what truly happened. The version spread by the Empire, stories like those told by Shinji, were just sanitized fairy tales. But one truth couldn't be denied. Less than 30% of the Empire's strongest forces survived the campaign. And there are a few lesser-known truths as well. Blanc is extremely selective about vessels for incarnation. She was willing to wait centuries for the perfect body. At first, she only saw Blanche as a tool, but as she spent time with her, saw her innocence and warmth, she changed. Her goal was no longer reincarnation, it was Blanche's happiness. She chose to retreat not just to preserve Blanche's body, but also because of the threat Scorched Dragon Velgrind. If Blanc had truly unleashed her power that day, the world may have seen a second Guy Crimson rise. The Empire's forces believed they had slain the White Queen, never realizing she had simply let them live. Blanc was always seen as proud and cold, but deep down, she cared deeply. She was willing to risk everything for the one person who mattered, Blanche. And that brings us to the end of this video. Hopefully, this gave you new insight into the Scarlet Lakeshore, one of the most misunderstood tragedies in the entire story. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on AniMonolith.